Okay. All right. Very good. Is there music on? Okay, everyone, we're going to kick off now. If you could find a pew. Hopefully there's enough chairs. If not, there's some little chairs underneath the benches in the middle if there's not enough at the front here. Do you have a phone handy? Just want to just check on like LinkedIn or YouTube that it's actually streaming. Okay. Thanks for coming, everyone. This is great to see everyone here today. So this is Deep Tech Melbourne, and we talk about all things deep tech. You can define that however you want. But we normally say, what's the pithy statement we make? Putting science into production. So anything that's kind of science or research based and trying to sort of build products around it, do interesting things, have a positive social impact or environmental impact, all these things interest us. So I want to kick off by handing over to Aika. Oh, here you go.
Oh, yeah.
Aika.
Talk to the people online as well. Hello. Yeah. Welcome to Stone and Chalk. I'm Ike Zeller. I'm the ecosystem director here, or general manager of this hub. Yeah, so awesome to have Deep Tech Melbourne back in the house. Before we start off with, I would just like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land where we gathered here today. Of course, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and I'd like to pay my respect to the elders present, past, and emerging, and also acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded. Well, this always was and always will be Aboriginal land where we gathered on. And just to start off with, maybe I say a few words about Stone and Chalk. So you are in here in one of our 4 hubs. We have 2 more hubs in Sydney and 1 in Adelaide. And Stone and Chalk, we are non-for-profit, and we basically exist to support startups and scale-ups, like the 2 you'll hear from soon. And if you look over there, you can see there's like about 50 startups and scale-ups here in the hub, in our Melbourne hub, and ranging from people just starting off with their first customers all the way up to, we have 2 50-person scale-ups in the hub as well. And so almost any problem someone could have here, someone else has already solved it. So we are pretty big at connecting the right people at the right time. And so we run lots of programs similar to an incubator, but like all year round. So like, yeah, if any of you are interested in Stone and Chalk and finding out more, like feel free to like hit me up, and I'm happy to give you a tour as well of the space. So there's above us is 2 levels of co-working as well for all the startups and scale-ups. Yeah, but just one more quick plug. Next, or like in 2 weeks on the 30th of May, we have our next ecosystem drinks here in the hub. I see a few familiar faces that have been before, so we run this every 4 weeks just to bring startups together with other people in the startup ecosystem. So like if you just Google ecosystem drinks, you'll find the next one, and I hope we'll see a few or like all of you there as well. So without further ado, I'll hand it back over to Ray.
Thank you, Aika. And thanks for hosting us. What did we work out? It's almost been a year that we've been there now. So yeah, so almost a year. We'll have to have a first birthday party. Liz, put down the. So I also want to shout out to Everest, who are sponsoring tonight. They've provided the drinks and the pizza. So, Simon, did you want to say a couple of words?
Yeah. Well, firstly, it's a pleasure to support the community. Firstly, it's a pleasure to support the community. Everest is a software engineering consultancy, so hit me up if you need help scaling your engineering teams. Deep Tech's a bit of an interest to us at the moment. One of our clients is Robotics Group Australia. So they're an umbrella group for a whole bunch of robotics businesses in areas like ag tech and mining and space and defense. So we're getting an opportunity to work with some really smart people in the deep tech space. So yeah, delighted to support the community here. So thanks.
I find this hilarious because my kids watch, especially my son, he watches lots of YouTube videos, and for some reason, all the people in the videos are holding tiny microphones. It's a trend at the moment. It infuriates me, and yet I'm doing it. So, like I say, we are Deep Tech Melbourne. We've got a Discord channel, a YouTube channel. We're occasionally on LinkedIn, although not that much. We're always looking for speakers. So. And sponsors. So if anyone's interested and wants to put their hand up and do a little talk, 15, 20 minutes kind of thing, it can be about your tech, it can be about your founder, journey, it can be about your research, anything like that, anything that helps invigorate the community, I think, and makes us excited about what we're doing. So yes, and especially sponsors. Oh, and organizers, yes. So, could always do with more help. So yeah, just a bit of housekeeping. Toilets are at the back there. Drinks are here. There's water out the tap over there. Exits there. Are there fire exits? Is that's basically covering it. If there's a fire, run. Yeah, so I just thought we've started trying to, this seems quite topical. That the aurora was the other day, big geomagnetic storm, and this visualization. This is actually from a couple of years ago, from the 2022, and this one knocked out 38 satellites. But I thought this is quite an interesting visualization of the pressure of the solar wind on, and this is the Earth and the Earth's magnetic sphere, and this is where it's being energized by the solar wind. And it's interesting to see how fluid and how dynamic it is being pushed. And then you can see that these are areas of like high magnetic activity, and they trail off into the background. Anyway, I just thought that's pretty cool and somewhat topical. I'm sure everyone got their amazing aurora photos. I don't actually know. I was assuming a few would be knocked out, but there's probably a bunch of deorbits because it causes the atmosphere to expand, and then that obviously creates more drag in LEO, and then that will, bring a bunch of satellites down. Anyway, that was pretty cool. So, hey. So yes. So tonight we got Heath from Wilderlands and Daniel from Arlula. So I think Heath has volunteered to go first. So if you grab your laptop and you can plug it in over here. So I'll hand over.
Put that on. I have to say, as I was sitting there, my mind was racing as to what problem I tackle first, because one, I'm going to need both my hands and a clicker, so I didn't know how I was going to hold the microphone, my phone, and click through. The second bit was, I was asked earlier on, which part of deep and tech I fit into. There we go, I've messed that up. And I'm not sure I fit into either. I think, like many founders, I've much more breadth and business. And so, unfortunately, both of our tech lead and our CTO called me this morning and said they're both sick and they're brothers. So that's unsurprising. And that's its own business challenge. But what I'm going to do is run through what we've created. This is a pitch that we presented some years ago as part of the Melbourne Accelerator program. But then also speak to some of the examples of partners we're working with, but also some of the business challenges as we've grown this business over the last few years. So hopefully there's something of interest. And if there's not, there's another great speaker coming after me. So bear with me. So we're in the midst of a biodiversity crisis. We're seeing species loss at unprecedented rates and a growing recognition that biodiversity loss is bad for business, with more than half the world's GDP reliant on nature. And yet, despite all of this, there's no easy way to protect nature today. So introducing Wilderlands, the developers of one of the world's first voluntary biodiversity credits. Sorry if I'm blocking the slides. So imagine if you could pick a square metre of vulnerable Australian biodiversity and engage a leading conservation organisation to help you protect it forever. You could learn about unique flora and fauna, receive regular updates from lead ecologists on the ground, have your own profile and zoom in to the exact location of your units and watch as nature flourishes thanks to your support. That's what we've made possible at Wilderlands. So how does it work? So we've developed a proprietary methodology that leverages state conservation covenant regulations. We then partner with conservation organisations to unitise the impact of their work and bring those units to market through a range of channels. We've partnered with Casino Environmental to launch our first 4 projects, which represent over 5 million square metres of vulnerable habitat to be protected. And we bring those units to market through a range of channels. The units range from $3 to $10 a unit, and we bring them to market through Wilderlands.earth, which is a consumer channel which offers one-off purchases and subscriptions, businesses through partnerships, and also sell through brokers to large organisations, usually to fulfil ESG commitments. So I guess the question is, why is now the right time for a solution like this? So in late last year, over 190 countries committed to protect 30% of nature by 2030. Australia was one of those countries, representing 840 billion square metres that needs to be protected by 2030. And we would know because we were there. That's my co-founder. He was also away at the moment, so we're having a good time. But you know, why is this an addressable market? So there's statistics that suggest this market's going to grow to a $162 billion market by 2030. So what traction have we had thus far? We've protected over 100,000 square metres, which represents over 100,000 units sold, and that's the most of any biodiversity credit developer on the planet. We've generated over 500K in 2 years. We've got over 1,000 supporters, that includes the likes of Lendlease, Monash University and others. And we've been featured in the Wall Street Journal, World Economic Forum and many others. So we were founded by a 6th-generation farmer. I'm sure you can probably guess which one. But he's been working in this space for over 30 years with this vision of how can we actually make protecting our vulnerable habitat and our land a viable option. And so he's brought together a team of technologists, but also marketing sales experts, ecologists to try and tackle this problem. So I'm going to pause there for a moment. As I said, that's our pitch. And I thought what I might do, not knowing what would be of interest to this group tonight, is give a few different options as to what things I could answer to. But if no one has any desires, I can start working through these bit by bit, and you put your hand up when it's time to cut me off. So the question I got asked earlier was, well, who buys these? So this is one example. It's really interesting being here tonight, actually, because for a year we worked out of Melbourne Connect at the University of Melbourne. We actually sat in the cafeteria. And the reason we did that is because people would order coffee and they'd stand around really awkwardly and they'd want someone to speak to, and often they'd say, well, what do you do? And we'd actually get the chance to pitch to them. And we deliberately positioned ourselves there. And Lendlease were one of the companies who said to us, oh, what are you doing? And so we explained that we do these credits, and they didn't understand it first, but by the 3rd coffee, they understood. And so they had their sustainability summit happening, and they said, well, you can put a banner in the corner. And we said, well, you know, we might be able to do something more meaningful. And we said, what about if you protected the equivalent square metres of the event space where the events can be held on? And they liked that idea. And then we said, well, what about rather than sending people home with a tote bag, if you could actually send people home with their own 10 square metres of protection? And again, you know, that got them interested. And And then we worked with a company called Foria to create an augmented reality experience in the space that brought the space to life. So people had birds flying around their head, they had species on the wall, and it actually brought nature into an urban environment. And I think one of the challenges when you're dealing with biodiversity or any space is how do you actually simplify the conversation and make it accessible? And so I'll play a very quick video. Now, this may or not.
I don't think the sound will work.
Just imagine it. It was great. That's all right. All good.
This might be because of this guy.
Well, this is the second example. So what we learned through that, and this is, I guess, where I mentioned about our role as founders being about breadth and business. The challenge around protecting nature is, why do I need to protect it today? Like, often this is not necessarily a problem someone has. So one of the things that was really an incidental and interesting learning from that was events are a really good sweet spot for us as a business, because they have a time that they're going to occur and a decision has to be made working back from that. So we were then approached by Adelaide Festival, who again were interested in, they'd heard about what we do, but they weren't sure how it would fit. Now, in the case of Adelaide Festival, what we did was come up with an idea that meant for every ticket that sold, people attending could unlock their own square metre. So I guess to give you a sense of our, I don't want to use the term tech stack, because I know this room's really going to rip that apart, but our technical environment would be, we've got a registry that houses our units. We've got, I guess, an e-commerce platform that enables the sale of those units. And then what we're finding more and more is our registries needing to connect to different platforms. And one of the interesting things that's happened in the last 2 years is we initially launched working through an agency, and we actually acquired the team to bring them in-house in the last year. So I guess that's often a question startups are faced with, is when do you need to bring those technical capabilities in-house? For us, the critical bit for me was when the incentives weren't aligning. That actually what was happening was our outsourced technical team were delivering against scope, budget, timeframe, and what we needed them to do was actually help inform what the work it is they're doing. So bringing them in was really important, and particularly as we started to get more demands from partners wanting to connect to different platforms. But yeah, Adelaide Festival is a really interesting one. What they supported was this project in South Australia that we do that's delivered in conjunction with the traditional owners of that region. Again, I won't dwell too much on this. This is another example, and I'll move pretty quickly through this. So Live Body, again, this is an e-commerce platform. So they came to us again interested in how could they have impact, but impact, I guess, with a more tangible component. So in this case, like, they're basically two girls who are on the block. They're super influential. They're very trendy, far more trendy than we could be. And so they started off with this idea where for every sale they made on Earth Day, they would enable customers to unlock their own 1 square metre of protection. That proved successful. And then what we did, we worked with them for a year to create a product that was actually inspired by one of the projects we protect. So everything from the ingredients through to the smell, through to the color of the product has been, I never realized how much went into a beauty product, and I didn't expect to be standing up speaking about one that we created, but here we are. But yeah, this product launched recently. It's in Myers and other stores, but it basically for every product sold, it protects a square metre of this particular project. And I guess is an example of how biodiversity credits being used outside ESG commitments to do what we're seeing more and more, which is demands from customers and consumers, but also even businesses buying them for staff. So I do have a short video here, won't play, really interesting though. And then I guess the other, I mentioned up front, I don't come from a technical nor a conservation background. My background, I started in sport, then worked at World Vision. In both of those cases, the challenge in those industries has been, how do you bring people closer to the action? In sport, the question has been, how do you bring fans inside the locker room? In somewhere like World Vision, it's how do you bring people closer to the impact they're having? And so we've taken those same principles to our conservation work. So we follow our lead ecologist around when she goes out and does the work in field and actually document a day in her life, which is actually, it wouldn't sound like that's overly innovative, but in this space, actually, it's really rarely done. So I guess that's one of we probably invest more in, the marketing side of our business than other competitors globally. But one of the critical things is actually giving people a sense tangibly of what it is they're supporting. So these are just some examples. I'm going to finish up there, but I might go back just quickly to some of these questions before I finish up. How have I gone for time?
You got about 5 minutes of questions, right?
Yeah.
The first one as well.
Yeah. Okay. Well, here's some. It's like some sort of weird Friday night game with the family. But choose one and go for it.
I have another one that might be on the golf ball methodology.
Yeah.
Do you know much about that?
I know as much as our videos told me. Yeah.
That's,
Yeah, so essentially my understanding is, what's really interesting about, I actually went out and to that project, to the untrained eye, mine was very untrained. This just looks like a field. But what I discovered was actually grasslands are one of the most threatened ecosystems because they're one of the most, I guess, misunderstood and easily destructed. And so this particular project, I believe, and I can see some people not in the room could probably jump in, but I believe what that methodology is about. You drop the golf balls, and then the visibility helps you understand the level of coverage in that particular area, and you're looking for certain scores. So there's a 30-second video that actually explains it really well. But yeah, that's my understanding. Is you've got like a square meter plot, and you're dropping the golf balls, and depending on the coverage, will give some indication of the health of that area. Also, it might help inform the type of species that's particularly, suitable for.
How are you guys doing?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked. Thank you. I feel like this.
Would you mind just repeating the question before you answer it, because you've got a microphone?
I hope I haven't been muffling that. So biodiversity, how do you measure it? And this is really, really interesting. I didn't actually really speak to the 2 core promises we make. So our unit's based on 2 promises. One is permanent protection, which we achieve through leveraging state conservation covenant regulations. So basically we have covenants over all of our properties that mean that they have to be permanently protected. It also means the money we raise, a portion of it goes direct to the landholder immediately. The rest goes into a trust paid over time. So should that land be sold, it always ensures that land can be that work can be continued by the landholder. Our lead ecologist also designs further plans that sit over the top of that, and so we also have, it helps fund the first 20 years of management. So that's our approach: a 1 square meter unit permanently protected and actively managed for 20 years. But we're part of groups like the UN Biodiversity Credit Alliance, and this is a constant discussion and debate, and often posturing around how will we create this universal agreed goal. I have to say, our conditions are the envy of our peers, because we have top-down regulation that we can leverage and helps create this independence and enforceable promises. Whereas some of our peers in South America and the like, their promises are more difficult to fulfill.
How enforceable is the covenant, and how do you ensure compliance with it?
Yeah, great. So legally enforceable, so on title legally enforceable and overseen. Yeah, overseen by the state government. So this infrastructure has been built, for 50 years. This has existed. The challenge has been, why would you do it? So Cassinia, who we work with, have a range of properties that are covenanted, and our co-founder Paul Detman has covenanted himself, but it's largely an altruistic goal. It wasn't necessarily a profitable or a viable goal. And so what we've tried to do is actually make this a viable path for landholders to protect nature, but also be, I guess, financially rewarded for that. So we're inundated with landholders wanting to come onto our platform or to embrace our methodology. We just don't necessarily have demand. What's interesting is, so we launched pre the 30% of nature by 2030 goals being committed to, pre the government committing to launching a nature repair market. All of these things didn't exist when we launched, but what we're seeing now is businesses having to start consider how do they reflect their impact on nature and actually take plans accordingly, which will create we believe will create demand similar to what net zero has in the carbon space. But yeah, so we lean into I guess legally enforceable infrastructure to be able to fulfill some of our promises.
Just interested in the shifting from B2C to B2B,
Yeah.
particularly because one of the cool things about, it seems, the consumer side of things is that connection, the individual connection to the environment.
Yeah.
And how does that carry over to ESG? Do they have the same?
Yeah, great. Yeah, thanks for asking that question, actually. So, like, it was really hard. At the end of year one, basically, we looked at everything we'd done and went, where's the money come from? What products do we have in market? And we realized we're doing too much. So we launched as a B2C platform on the belief of actually a few interesting beliefs. One was people care about the planet. Probably true. Two, people will pay to care about the planet. Like, definitely not true. And even more so, people will pay repeatedly. You know, so like, why is protecting 11 square meters better than 10? Why is, and so it's really, really difficult. And so some of those examples, I showed you what we discovered through that was actually a few things. One, if another business paid, individuals might take action to actually unlock that. You know, so in Adelaide Festival, in all these examples, B2B2C, we saw that actually, you know, the consumer and the customer weren't the same people, and that worked. It's still not enough to sustain our business. And so it was a really difficult conversation with our investor to basically say, hey, guess what? We're going to turn off all the ways we're making money now because we believe that actually, you know, the broader environment is maturing much faster than we expected. And we're actually having larger conversations either with the built environment around, you know, Green Star regulations that we can sell into, or ESG commitments. So we still leverage the infrastructure we've built because there is a desire for this, I guess, marketing side of things, like businesses like that. And fortunately, we've built this, but, you know, I guess this will never be the equivalent of Sponsor a Child at World Vision, you know, where people are taking that action because it's just really, really difficult to drive enough traffic to build a marketplace to sustain it, and then really difficult to drive action today and not tomorrow was our reflections.
I think just that'll be the last question.
Yeah, great.
I guess when we started, we're very idealistic. Do you feel like you're making the impact you wanted? And if not, how do you reconcile with your own initial hypotheses?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm super pessimistic. So like, you know, but I definitely joined like a team of immense optimists. You know, when I joined the business, you know, I'd worked around startups. I worked at Melbourne Accelerator Program. I headed marketing for Melbourne Connect. Like I'd seen enough startups to understand what realistic goals look like. And I would say like we were a long way off when I first joined the business. So I guess like we have a really, like the couple of things that have been interesting for us as a business, I think are interesting anyway, is like you always get told as a startup that you need to be global to be investable, or you need to be global to be competitive. Like I would argue we can build a big enough business in Australia to have serious impact. And, you know, we fortunately have an investor who has a very patient long-term view. Like I wouldn't say we're VC investable and I wouldn't want that pressure on us, and the market just won't mature fast enough for that. I view our role in this as being like, I don't really mind whether we have the impact, but I want us to be part of the catalyst that is the impact. So, you know, whether we have the impact or someone else does, I don't really mind because like we're all screwed if action doesn't happen. So, you know, I guess I'm a real Seth Godin devotee, and years ago he basically said, doesn't matter where you are, doesn't matter what you've done, it is all of our job now to protect the planet. And if you've had no skill in it, guess what? You've got to start. So I guess that's how I viewed it, as almost like a calling, which was like, you know, I need to step into it. But yeah, I would say like we have the ability to attract. I would say the world is shifting to value nature faster than I expected it. You know, and there's things that operating like regulation would, that are going to mean that that's going to happen sooner than that. So yeah, but look, my co-founder was pretty flat. He thought he'd conquer the world in a year, I reckon. This recorded, isn't it? Yeah,
I can edit it out.
yeah
But
no,
it's
that's
actually
all right.
being broadcast live. So
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot, Heath.
No, thank
Bring a round of
you.
applause. I think the computer went to sleep. You have to reshare that
Oh, sorry.
thingamajig. Oh, you're all good. That's all right. It's good.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so next up we've got Daniel from Arlula. Are you all good?
See?
USB-C?
Yep.
Oh shit. If you take it over there, hang on. We can.
Right? Maybe you can stand over there. And the computer can be over there.
Yeah, if you.
Yeah. Switch it.
Oh, can you just do HDMI?
HDMI's fine.
Did I grab that off of you?
No,
I got mine.
Oh, you've got it? Okay. Talk amongst yourselves. We should have the intermission sign up.
Oh, yeah.
Apologies for technical difficulties. Oh, are you out of power?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, I might take it.
Oh, there we go. Bit of elevator music would be helpful.
We need some sing a little song. We need some emergency slides.
You don't have a Deep Tech Melbourne song? that you
Oh,
guys all sing
I
together?
guess what we could talk about is while we're waiting for that to happen, does anyone have anything they want to shout out? Like projects you're working on, things you're doing, any throw off, or talk about some shameless self promotion.
Subscribe to my YouTube channel.
There you go. Tell us about your YouTube channel.
There you go. I'm going live.
Maybe if you.
Hello, everyone who watching the Deep Tech channel. I'm Viana Martins, and I have IT Career in Australia channel. I recently tipped over 1,000 subscribers, so I'm really excited. I have weekly discussions on different topics about IT industry in Australia every Wednesday at 5:30, and I have a Reboot Your Tech Mind live stream on Tuesday mornings. It's a 15-minute stream with like cool, quick exercises to increase productivity, time management, or just some stress relief. So here we go. Subscribe.
We should post the link in the Discord channel.
Thank you.
And everyone should join the Discord channel. Yes. Anyone else want to show off anything? Could you come a bit closer if you're gonna? You say you're gonna queue up at the microphone.
Shout out to
All right, I'll stay up the front. Oh, hello. Hello, my name's Warwick, and I do deep tech capital raising. So if anyone wants to figure out funding, well, talk to me. That's what I do all day, every day. I just obsess over it. So yeah, come touch me. Done. Thanks, man.
You're gonna get spammed now. Any other shout outs? Self promotion? That's all right. I think we're ready now. Good. Thank you. All right. Let me just. There we go. Cool. Okay. Next up is Daniel. So round of applause, please. Thank you.
Yep. All mic'd up. Hi everyone. My name is Daniel. So I work at Arlula, and we're a Earth observation, procurement, and management company. So can I get a show of hands quickly before we get into the rest of my presentation? Has anyone here actually bought satellite imagery before? Of course. So there are some people in this room that have personally experienced the pain of purchasing satellite imagery. I'm very glad that you guys can share that pain today. So as of this year's Star Wars Day, Orbiting Now lists 9,900 satellites in various orbits around Earth, and over 10% of them are Earth observation satellites. And as we know, the cost of launch is coming down, and therefore the rate of commercial satellites, particularly Earth observation satellites, that are being launched on those lower cost rockets are going up. So to take advantage of that, there's a new wave of analytics companies that are coming online to utilize the data that these satellites are sending down to Earth using AI ML algorithms to then provide insights to end users. And we can talk about those end users a little bit later. So the problem, though, is there's really no standardization of the commercial satellite data that's coming out. There's a whole bunch of different companies. There's a whole bunch of different standards that are being used and different formats. And that really creates fragmentation within the industry, and it creates hurdles for end users to then ultimately get the insights that they're paying for. Alongside that, if you're a consumer of satellite data or satellite insights, data insights, you probably will have to deal with multiple different satellite operators if you're buying directly from them. That creates a business problem because each of these operators have different contracts that they want to negotiate with you, and also different end user licenses that they provide. And that's quite challenging to navigate as an individual company. So that's where we come in. So to make the data and the insights scalable, we need to make the procurement and the management of that data scalable as well. Alula is an infrastructure platform for scaled procurement, ingestion, and management of the geospatial data. So as a company, we're agnostic of data type. We've started with multispectral Earth observation data. We've moved into hyperspectral as well as synthetic aperture radar. And on our roadmap, we're soon going to be able to ingest aerial data as well. And what we do is really building out that the infrastructure. So if you think of any electronics that you have, say a hairdryer, you need to be able to plug that in, and for the electricity to come to your house into the hairdryer to actually be able to use that, right? So Alula is that infrastructure, the grid that provides the electricity for you to be able to use the electricity at the end of the day. So who are we? Just a quick rundown. We were founded in 2018. There are two co-founders, and we've sold to over 200,000 square kilometers of data last year, as well as have over 13,000 platform users at this stage. We're backed by, we're seed, backed by Main Sequence Ventures, follow-on funding with Lockheed Martin, as well as recent grant funding from the Australian Space Agency, really to provide the data interoperability, so to be able to standardize the Earth observation data that I was just talking about before. Our customers, so we view customers in essentially two categories. There are enterprise customers, so various industries, mining, agriculture, defense and government, linear asset providers as well. Consultancy as well is one of those. And then the second category of customers really is the Earth observation satellite operators. So as I talked about earlier on, there's a lot of new operators sending their little boxes up into space. And a lot of the funding that they receive is going into the R&D and the actual operational costs of getting that piece of kit in space. The the point where the data comes back down to the ground station and gets to the end user, that's a little bit of an afterthought. So we're providing that infrastructure as a service to those operators as well. This is a quick list of some of the major vendors that we're currently working with. As you can see, there's quite a large number. This isn't all of them. And this is an ever-growing list as well. So really highlighting the importance of being able to take all of the data from these multiple vendors and to be able to standardize that to then use it as an insight for your business. That's it for me. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'll take them now.
So any questions? Okay.
If you have clients who are wanting to do small areas, how do you handle the clients in some of the larger clients? So you have to have quite a sizable area. Is that a challenge that you're encountering?
Yeah, absolutely. So, sorry, I've forgotten your name.
That's okay, my name's Jenna.
Jenna. Part of what the problem that Jenna is referring to is the minimum order quantity issue. So as I spoke about before, there's a bit of a business problem here where these operators have these requirements of selling a certain quantity of square kilometers to you. So part of our solution and value add is that we deal with the supplier and have the I guess the ability to negotiate better deals for our customers. So in the instance of minimum order quantities, we can offer a 1 square kilometer minimum order, and that kind of varies by supplier. It varies depending on whether or not you're seeking archive or tasking, but it is something that as we see more and more customers and more and more demand, that we can then put that pressure on our suppliers to then bring that down. Yes.
How do you manage providers
So the question was, how do we manage competition with our suppliers? So a lot of the suppliers we see don't actually want to get into the distribution side of things. They definitely want to keep their contracts with very large customers, government, for example. So Maxar is a great example of wanting to maintain that relationship with specific governments that they deal with. But a lot of the new players we're seeing as well want to specialize in their niche. So they see that we coming in as essentially a distributor and an aggregator in a lot of ways is beneficial for their business models.
A bit of a follow-on from that one.
Yeah.
So the other part of the question there was on the Google Earth engine.
Yes.
That right? So they actually provide a lot of aggregated data together and sort of sell it out there. So what advantage do you have in there? Is it price? Is it quality? Is it time series? Is it any resolution? What have you got over them?
Yeah. So Google Earth engine. So specifically, when you go, are you thinking of just like going on Google Earth Pro or go Maps?
No, they've got
just
a whole lot of data. Sorry. Yeah. Earth engine data.
Oh yeah. So essentially, part of the value add with coming to an aggregator and dealing more or less directly with the suppliers is that the time frame to image acquisition. So you can get exactly the image you want when you want it, as well as then the efficiency of scale as well that we provide as aggregating our suppliers, both as well as customers.
So if I want to do a photo of the CBD of Melbourne on the 11th of May, you'd be able to give me exactly that particular one.
Yep.
Right. Okay.
Maybe not within the cloud might be there, but yes, we can. Yes.
Two-part question. First is there much archival data in Australia? We've been a bit collective. The second part is talked about the challenge of giving the data in a format for the customers. That's what the satellite companies struggle with. So how do you guys deal with that? I imagine everyone wants their data in a different way. So it's like to the user, like you guys have your own format.
Yeah. So the question about how much archive data is available in Australia is very much depends on specifically where you look. Obviously, in coastal areas, specifically around cities, there's going to be a higher density of archive data. Each state essentially has a base map project that they run about every 5 years. So they will contract an operator to map the entire state, and so that can provide some good archive data as well. So particularly out in the outback. So the second question.
How do you put the data in a format the customers want?
Yeah. So this is partly where we have gotten the grant funding from ASA, and we're solving for that right now. We're with a project called data interoperability. Say that 5 times quickly. And it's what that is we're able to I guess add a layer on top of the raw data that's being provided to make it analysis ready for the end user. Yeah. Sorry, I think there was a.
I had also 2 questions. My first was, do you also provide historical data analysis among your or it's real-time data?
Yeah, so the question was, do we provide historical data analysis? So we don't do the analysis ourselves. We provide the data. In terms of historical data, yes, that's a big part of the EO data model and the benefit that it can provide is that you can get historical data where it exists.
So even if I am looking for 1960 HD of Melbourne, I be able to get
for no. But it'd be Landsat, yeah. You'd be looking at 30 meters, yeah, 30 meter per pixel, yeah. So maybe almost the entire CBD will fit into that, yeah, 1 pixel, yeah.
GIS and remote sensing. So getting satellite imagery was usually dependent on the field, like we said about the Earth observation of USGS. So usually our major concern was that we getting data from them was mostly not real time, actually filtered, or some of the imaging part was blacked out. Maybe due to security reasons.
Yeah.
Maybe to counter this issue or something, because there is sometimes required to map out the exact area to make it precise in terms of areas the satellite imaging.
Yeah, so the question was, do we provide data or work with students? And the answer is we very much hope to in the future. Right now, we are very much focused on our B2B sales model. So whilst you can definitely come to us and use our platform to purchase satellite imagery that you may need if you're a student, our focus right now is not on students. Yeah. So.
And do you any due diligence on due diligence on why people are purchasing images, and if so, as a result of that, like, do you get people, or on the flip side, can you tell us about some like cool things some users have done with it?
Yeah. So yes is the answer to the DD question. I won't try it myself. So there is a requirement that is placed on us by our supply partners to know to a certain extent exactly what the use case is going to be. In a lot of instances, it's the specific locations that are, let's say, embargoed. So over Ukraine at the moment is not somewhere you can purchase imagery over. So the second part of that question was cool use cases, right?
More so like what people are planning to do with data, like you find that out of the and if so, yeah, like maybe some cool examples of what your customers have done with the
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of my role on a day-to-day basis is identifying exactly what the customer objective is and how what we can provide them actually solves that problem for them. So kind of the easy ones to easy questions to initially ask are around, what kind of resolution do you need, what kind of time frame do you need, and what kind of licensing requirements do you need as well. And so what we've seen, one of the projects that we've done is with a large mining company that are trying to do stockpile above ground stockpile monitoring, and they don't want to use their drones to monitor those stockpiles. They want to use a satellite image to do that. There are heaps of other things, other use cases. So on linear assets, vegetation encroachment would be another one you can do. Really, the benefit is you can have regular monitoring of sites, and whilst there will be weather implications for the capture of that data, you can still work around that with bespoke capture schedules, and then get that information to you to analyze it. The other interesting use case that we're looking at right now is the tip and queue model. So have a device, so with the Internet of Things, if that triggers, for example, you have in a forest, if there is a device is triggered that indicates a fire, then you can immediately queue a satellite, or automatically queue a satellite to go and take an image of that to identify exactly where that fire may be.
One of the use cases I love is forecasting grain harvest to forecast like deficiencies in grain and price.
Yeah.
Question: because of the weather, how much of like the daily satellite imagery is unusable?
Yeah. So with satellite imagery acquisition, especially for the commercial operators, it costs money for them to capture. And so even if they are doing speculative tasks, there needs to be a fairly compelling business reason that they're doing that. So specifically, whether like how much of it is junk is more, I think more the important question is how much of the capture of junk data is factored into the cost of purchasing the satellite imagery. And that's where we as an aggregator can provide a solution, because we have access to multiple suppliers. They may be able to capture exactly what you're requiring and ultimately bring down the cost for our end users.
You does your software go, okay, we've got 6 different suppliers for this location this day, and then just kind of go, okay, well, this one's the only useful.
So you can select exactly which supplier you want to use once you've gone out on our platform. But it will do the orbital calculations of where the satellite is going to be, and within a specific time frame, you'll be able to you'll be given an option of whether or not that satellite is able to capture within that time frame.
Okay, one more question.
If one of your customers buys archival footage for a given area for a given day, you pay your supplier. If another customer then buys the same area, do you have to pay the supplier again, or do you have a license to then resell that, and that's then paid at the same time?
It is a licensed product for the specific end user, so it would have to be another purchase. So we are again, in this sense, an aggregator. So we the cost is passed on to the end user here. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Brilliant.
Thanks, Daniel.
Thanks a lot. Cheers.
Yeah, that's cool. There you go. I'll give you that one. And then
Awesome. Thank you, Daniel.
just grab that. Oh, shit. Hang on.
A bit of no
I
signal
don't need
there.
that. I need that one.
The yeah, so that's it for our speakers tonight. Thank you for joining us. We've just got a couple of other things we want to say. There's been this awesome opportunity that's come across my LinkedIn, The Beast, this morning. It's by a friend called Danielle. She works or runs a charity called We Are Mobilized. And it's Hack for Homelessness. So I'm just going to read off my phone about what the actual hack is. So the hackathon theme is design an accessible interface that helps make homelessness everybody's problem by engaging the Australian public on the issue and capturing real-time reporting on the drivers and causes of homelessness. So this is something that's obviously getting bigger and bigger of a situation as like the economic environment is how it is today. So if you have any of the skills like UX, UI design, data analyst, software development, project management, graphic design, marketing communications, or business strategy, or anything else that you think might be good for a hackathon like this, it's just over the 25th and 26th. Really friendly team, really awesome people that they're going to invite there as well. So having exposure to them. So yeah, just feel free to scan the QR code and it'll take you to a survey that you can fill out and you can participate in the hackathon, which would be awesome because we've got some really smart brains in this room. So it'd be great to have some minds on that. Yeah, I'll let Ray finish off.
And well, that's it. Thank you for coming. Here's another QR code. And so come to our Discord. There's some lively chat there occasionally, and some hot topics and spicy takes. Sorry.
Posting stuff about food.
Yeah, and just post. So shameless self-promotion. Go do it there. So thank you for coming. I think we've got what time is it? We've got probably another half an hour here or so. So feel free to sort of have drink up, eat the rest of the cold pizza, chat amongst yourselves, and then we normally pop round the corner to Saint and Rouge or Rogue or whatever it's called, whatever that place is around the corner for a drink afterwards. So, welcome to come there. But thank you for coming, and thanks to our speakers. Thanks to our sponsor, Everest. Woo. Cheers.